Okay, here we are back at Pensacola Shipyard. It's now Sunday, and we've had a good 2.5 days of hard labor on the boat, and we're getting it ready to go. Of course, we didn't, want to be down. We had to be with the through holes. Obviously, we're not going anywhere until the leak in the boat's fixed. But I will say it's given us time to really go through the boat and make sure that we've prepped it well, not rushed, and as long as our weather window holds up, I think we'll be glad in the end that we did. So I'm gonna take a minute here to show some of the improvements that we've made to the vessel and go from there. Improvement, buddy Gene, we borrowed a buffer and he was able to do the entire boat, buff it out and wax it. So now we are shiny and new, and got all the dock rash out of her, so that's a good thing. Here's the first new thing on the boat. This is a forward scan transducer, and so this will enable us to see objects underneath the water on our chart plotter, and really cool. Basically it detects if there's a submerged cargo bin or anything like that. This then is the original hole where we just had the knot meter on there. The knot meter is still there. It's a little flywheel here that turns. And the new part to that is that it also now will gauge depth and water temperature. All right, so there's the solar mounted on the back. You can see the new steel that holds that in place. We've also mounted the life sling back here. The generator, we went the Generac 3500. It holds 2.5 gallons of gas, and we think we're probably going to mount it right here where a seat would be, so that we will ride it and keep it above. We thought about it right there on the swim platform, but that's too low for getting following seas. But that will provide us any power we might need for microwave ovens, God forbid air conditioner, but if we do have lulls, whatever, we might want that. But here in the cockpit are the most visible changes and the funnest changes that we made to the boat. We have the full B&G electronics package with the Zeus 9. It's our chart plotter. We have a secondary autopilot system there, and the old wind indicator, wind speed mounted there. This thing, man, I wish we had this when we were racing her back on Grapevine. Has a sail steer showing true and apparent wind. For the racing itself, it has timer built into it. It actually will measure wind shifts and suggest wind attack and so forth. So it'd be quite a thing to have, quite fun. Anyway, I've got to download the map set to this. There are charts on here, but I want to be sure that we have everything we need for navigation aboard. But anyway, pretty cool. There's our new Hypalon life raft. Not life raft, I keep saying that, dinghy. We actually have a pretty good place to mount it, where it'll be just aft of the hatch cover back there, so it shouldn't interfere with anything, and we think we can lash it down properly. 2x6s we're going to mount on the rails here, put all the diesel jerry cans over there. Moving down below, this actually isn't as bad as it looks. We're getting pretty close to having her back together. This is the new VHF unit that has AIS built into it. Not sure why it's under distress, but so you can see different boats that are around us and where they are. You also can see them indicated as triangles on the chart plotter itself. So boats coming back together. It was a real mess down here. Just all the grime from the shipyard and so forth. So we're getting close, assuming that they get the holes in the boat plugged tomorrow. That's our number one issue. Obviously, there were two of them were leaking. The backing plate there, that's Gene buffing out the hole that you hear in the back. We're going to go ahead and replace all 5 of the backing plates, just in abundance of safety. Don't want anything happening while we're down there. So again, we have the sling up there, and overboard we've got a pole we've got to add on. We cleaned out the locker here. So we're putting the life raft right there, easily accessible, bolt cutters, God forbid you gotta cut the rigging, bosun chair right there, and everything's within fairly easy reach if needed. So the biggest thing we're watching right now, other than hoping we launch at 1 p.m., is the weather. There is a frontal system coming through Wednesday night, early Thursday. Our current thought is that we can get south-southeast of here more than 200 miles by the time it arrives. So if anything, we'll catch the tail end of it. Might have a bumpy few hours, but from what we can tell so far, it's nothing more than mid-20s on the wind and 3, 4 foot, 5 foot seas. So nothing that we're not capable of handling. We'll just see. We'll be following along with that. I'm going to do a predict wind, kind of try to show that here next. Okay, so I mentioned the weather earlier and predict wind, and here's our position right there in Pensacola. We are hoping that the boat's ready tomorrow, splashed at 1 p.m. So this is showing, weather conditions around that time. Wind is looking like it's coming from the south, slight southeast, but not too bad on the nose. We could likely sail or motor sail this way to the southeast towards this point here, which is Apalachicola. And the weather router that we've hired has recommended 15 to 17 knots of breeze. We could sail/motor sail down to here and stop through Wednesday and into Thursday. Because you see, when you fast forward through what's going to be happening here with the weather, there is a low pressure system coming through right here in the Wednesday night area. It's going to get quite gusty. If you can switch over to the rain map, you can see this doesn't necessarily show much right there, but you're looking here at, I don't know where the legend went, but anyway, 20, 25 knots of wind, which by itself isn't anything too concerning, but it's right here at the edge of that front that we're worried, we could get some squalls in the 50s, 60s, higher, knockdown conditions, all sails down, and that's a real concern. So what the weather router is suggesting is that we go from Pensacola, stop here, wait until this front passes on Thursday, and then you can see here how the wind is going to start to shift. Now it's coming from the west, and we would be sailing this direction, so it'd be a nice beam reach, if not a broad reach, going down towards our destination here, which is Marathon. So moving on into Friday, Saturday, and this is just a dot, a fixed point in land. We'd be running here. We'd be well down the coast. Actually, if we depart by Thursday, we're moving 100, 120 miles a day, depending on wind speed and so forth. So there it starts to get calmer, Saturday, Sunday. But regardless, the wind is relatively favorable from Thursday forward to get us down here. If we did that, if we stopped, leave on Thursday, we're looking at probably making the Keys by next Monday or Tuesday, which has some implications, some problems for crew and so forth and work schedules, but we're trying to work through that. Alternatively, we can go tomorrow afternoon, again, assuming the boat is fixed and ready to go. We can basically motor in through the wind here because, it's right on our nose, and get just as far south as we can. We thought about maybe trying to get towards the Tampa St. Pete area over here by the time the front comes through. But really, based on the current forecast, it's not looking like there's any way we would be able to outrun it, get into shelter here, assuming we needed shelter to ride it out and, through the front. But this course, if we did come down, through the Tampa, St. Pete area, then we're down here somewhere by the time that the front does come through. We got a bumpy night, right? So we know we would expect that from Wednesday, from between 7 p.m. and Thursday, 7 a.m., we're going to have big squalls, big rain. As long as it's not a safety issue, then we'd still be down in this area, and we'd still be on track to make our landing in Marathon in order for everybody to meet their current
obligation. So that's where we are. We're going to reevaluate it in the morning after the next 12-hour forecast update, and we will continue to be weather aware and try to make the right decision.